Take a deep breath in. Let's take another deep breath. Slowly open your eyes. I love that meditation, don't you? I love that song. So let's all sing it together, shall we? I'll do that part. Hang on, let me give you the microphone. Okay, you'll have to excuse me tonight because my right foot is acting up a lot, so I'm a little low on the take-up. Go ahead.
When she started to sing, seemed like everything just cleared out of my mind completely. A minute or two after she quit, all kind of stuff started jumping back in there. Yeah. Is that strange or?
How many felt after the meditation you kind of stayed in that place? Or how many of you had the monkey mind come back in as soon as it was over? Okay. Well, you know what? What's interesting about that is this. There's no right or wrong thing. When it comes to meditation, there is no right or wrong thing. I'm glad that for 7 minutes and 15 seconds, which is the length of that song, your monkey mind stopped completely. So imagine if you played it back to back and you had 14 minutes of that nonstop feeling, right? And you could allow yourself just to be still, because in the stillness is when we find things, we discover things about ourselves. The monkey mind's going to jump back in, but hey, you had 7 minutes, which is 7 minutes more than you had yesterday, and 7 minutes more than you had all day today. Would you agree? So, look, baby steps. No one's saying you're going to be perfect at this, but this is just one form of meditation again that can take you to a place where all the stuff that's going on in the mind, you're just present, which speaks volumes, because many times we're not even capable of being present because so much is going on in our head. In fact, when you're with someone, you're not even present because there's still all those things spinning around in your brain. Does that make sense? So there's no right, no wrong. I'm just glad that even after 7 minutes, if the brain started back up again, for 7 minutes you were in the clear. Yes?
It's interesting when I can't jog anymore because I have the measles right now. And so I've replaced it with riding bike. And when I was jogging and now when I'm riding bike, my mind just goes peace.
Yeah, escape. Beautiful. Okay, so grab a partner. This is going to be a partner that you're going to be with for the first half hour. For those that are live streaming, it's going to be a little slow on the uptake tonight, but stick with me because the center half of this lesson is amazing. So find a partner, take your workbook, someone you preferably haven't worked with before, or it's been a while since you worked with them, but take your notebook with you. If you need a partner, raise your hand. Kind of find somebody and get comfortable because you're going to be with them for a few minutes. Hey, John, you may want to sit side by side because you're going to be twisting for a while. Oh, Margot's needing a partner. Bring another. Anybody need a partner? Oh, there you go. Bingo. Is everybody partnered up? Beautiful. Seth, do you have a partner? You do, right? Okay, beautiful. Good. Cheryl, you're just kind of on your own for right now. All right? If you want to jump in with somebody else, you can. Okay, here's the thing. I want you to turn to your notebook on page, I think, 39, is it? Where you answered these questions. Okay. Discuss the following statements. I always do my best. You were to answer about that. I do my best in the following areas of my life. I don't try very hard in the following areas of my life. And finally, areas where I put extra effort into things include. So hopefully you've finished all of that and you're prepared to discuss it tonight. So with your partner, I'm going to give you about 7 minutes to do this. So everybody's like, or 7 or 8 minutes. So you got like 2 minutes per question per person, okay? So just share and I'll I'll give you like a 2-minute warning when we're coming near the end, all right? So my live streamers, hang in there. We're going to have a discussion after this, so hang in there. All right, go ahead. Okay, where are we? Are we good? Everybody finished? Need one more minute? All right, let's take one more minute. No, it's okay. I got it. Thank you, though. There you go. Hand those out to your partners there. Two. There we go. Okay, stay with your partner. Don't leave yet. You're going to be working with them in just a second. Got those? Thank you. Here you go. There you go. All right. You guys might want to come back over here, though. Yep. Need one, two more? Just one. There you go. Perfect. But stay with your partner because we're going to do another exercise on the heels of this. So let's talk about this. Since starting this class, we want to ask the question, what have you become more aware of? Now, some of the students in the past have said the way I'm living, my thought patterns, emotional cues and clues, my participation in the events of my life, expectations and manipulations in me and in others, what I'm telling myself to available choices, to what I'm waking up, in other words, that MSU stuff, and causes I set in motion. Outside of those things, what else would you add that you've been experiencing over the past 5 weeks? Anybody want to add theirs? What have you been looking at? What have you been experiencing?
I've been experiencing just how great my life is.
Good.
I'm happy, and I have to really think when I do a prayer because I feel like I have everything.
Good. Good.
But you say,
And you didn't feel that before?
no, I did not.
Good. Beautiful. Anybody else? Who else is experiencing some good things? Come on. There we go. Go ahead. Nope, it's good. Should be green.
The one thing I've learned or I'm practicing is realizing that that if someone has a different opinion of mine, it's not that they're wrong or they didn't hear me, but I take it as an addition of knowledge,
Okay. Good.
and that really wards off any an argument about things.
Good.
Taking
Yeah.
it as a plus.
Well, good, because a lot of times listening to other people is a really important thing. So that's good. All right. Anybody else? Yes, David. And then just pass it back for me.
It's for me, I have been questioning a lot of my conclusions and choices and thoughts that I thought were concrete, and so I'm looking and finding some things that aren't exactly as true as I thought they were.
Good. Pass it back.
One of the things that's working for me is increasing my mindfulness and being more in the present moment. And when the monkey mind starts taking over, I catch it, and it's like delete, go back, start over, be where you are, be with who you're with.
Good.
Yeah,
Good.
that's really good.
Anybody else back there want to share before we move the mic forward?
For me, it goes back to the first chapter, the first agreement of just keeping impeccable with my word. I really am paying more and more attention to that and just trying to keep myself, keeping my truth to who I really am and being that person. And when I am impeccable with my word, gosh, I feel good about me.
Yeah.
And the book has helped me on that.
Yeah, making sure that before you commit to something, you're going to be held accountable for it to yourself. So you're really,
Absolutely.
I mean, before it's really interesting.
Yeah.
Before I commit to things or talk to people about things, I'm catching myself really saying, "Is this really what you want to do? Is this really? Are you going to be able to follow through on this? Are you going to be able to stand in your word and be authentic and true with this?"
And I'm holding that same accountability to myself when I say I'm going to do something for me.
Right.
I'm really holding me accountable.
Good. Good. Anybody else? Yep. All right. Passing over. There you go, Judy.
I have really stopped and become aware of
This up here.
being judgmental
Okay.
of others. And before I say anything, I always stop and look, listen, and think to myself, now what is a good part about that person?
Right.
Instead of seeing a bad part of that person.
Have you noticed it's becoming a little difficult to hang around certain people?
At the Living Desert, I work with a gal. I really like her, and she's usually not too bad, but she started to talk about another volunteer, and I just kind of backed away from it completely. I didn't want to get involved with
Right.
it. So,
Anybody else experiencing a little trouble sort of relating to other people because you're like, ew, I hope I wasn't like this before? And then you realize, yeah, I probably was a lot. And you're like, wow, that's so different now. Anybody else? Yeah?
so
All
I
right.
think sometimes you can kind of change the conversation.
Definitely.
So,
I've come
they
right out
don't
and said-
continue on that same
I've come
thought
right out and
pattern.
said in front of my friends that have started doing that, and I'd said, you know what, guys, I'm not comfortable being involved in this conversation. So
Yeah.
could we guys, when I'm around, could we not talk about other people because I'm really working on not being part of that process. And at first, my friends are sort of taken aback a little bit, but then what I've noticed is now when I sit down with them, those topics are no longer coming up.
Yeah.
We're no longer going into that place because I've asked them kindly, it's like, look, this stuff kind of bothers me a little bit. Can we not? And they know, because I'm not real visual, right? I tend to recoil, right? So we're sitting at a table, I'm like, and I'll sigh heavily, or I'll take a drink or something like that, and I'm like, guys, please, I can't participate. And I say, I can't participate in this conversation. It's uncomfortable. I can't do it anymore. And, some of them toss me a little attitude, but for the most part, they're like, they realize and they know that it's not the best thing to do. Pass it on to Mary Beth right here.
So I've noticed that the impeccable with your word, and so what that's been doing for me is like just being really mindful because I feel separate from the universe and just like, okay, if that's not the truth, then, so just, I don't know, I can't really explain, but just, and then, the other thing is trusting, so it's just been this kind of really just different kind of slowing down and just kind of trusting, not being all.
Good. This is good stuff. I like hearing this. We should stop the class now and go to dinner. All right, Cheryl.
I started realizing that my perception is the only perception that I really know. Everybody else's perception, as I look at them and all the assumptions and taking things personally, I'm fascinated now by people and their perception because used to I thought that they had the same perception that I do, and they don't. Nobody does. And so that's what I really started growing when I saw that I can see it from one way, but then I have to be completely open and receptive to somebody else's way of seeing things.
Yeah, and it's interesting how we become judgmental in the fact that we think that everybody's thinking the same way we're thinking, but they're not, right? And so we sit in judgment of that at first, and now you're learning, hey, that opinion is just as valid as mine. We're not calling it right or wrong, we're just saying what it is. It just is, it's there, it's them. Yes?
No, we're the chickens.
Oh, you're done? Your chickens? Okay, anybody else? All right. So, well, this is good. This is all good. Becky, you have something you want to say?
Yeah.
All right. Put it right to your mouth, please.
I've noticed that I wasn't real good about doing things for others. And now I'm thinking of twice about it and trying to help out other people.
Good. Making yourself available to be of service to other people.
Right.
Good.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah.
an opening, it's awareness. Okay, so you're going to do another exercise with your partner because not everybody shared, and not everybody that shared as deep as you could share, right? You kind of hit the surface. So here we go. Without referring to your notes, because you already did this in your notes, share with a partner the completion of this sentence. What I have learned about myself in this class is, one listening does so without comment. Not, in other words, they're just going to listen. There's no commenting about this, okay? You have a total of 10 minutes to complete both persons sharing, so 5 minutes per person. I will tell you when the 5-minute mark has been hit, all right? So just keep talking until you got your 5 minutes up. Go through the agreements. Just go through them in your head, which the first agreement, you know? Don't take things personally. Don't make assumptions. Do your best. What's the other one? Be impeccable with your word. So make sure that if you need to just kind of go through the 4 agreements, and I'll let your partner prompt you which agreement you may have missed. So you're going to be able to fill 5 minutes easily with this. It goes faster than you think. So we're going to do that for the next 10 minutes. So I'm going to set my timer, and partner number 1, please begin. All right, go ahead and make the switch. You did it. Yay! Switch partners. Good. Good job. Okay, you got one more minute, just one more minute. You're almost there. Perfect. All right. Thank your partner. Let's head back to our seats, please. Good job. Good job, everybody. 7. Right? Tell him, Judy. Say, I need 7 chairs, so move over. That's what I do. How much of that bed do you need? All of it. You and the dog out. I'm going to sleep this way, not this way. Why? Because I want to. Whatever I want, God wants for me. How to metaphysically flog other people, right? Okay, so let's talk about a couple things. When we talk about becoming awake, this is about the process of which you're going through right now, and that we've been talking about even on yesterday and Sunday, was not about going to a destination, but being awake while you're there, allowing yourself to become more aware of the path that you're on, realizing that there isn't a there to get to, there's only the path that you're on, and you want to be awake for your life, right? This is what this is about. So, how does noticing what is going on inside of me contribute to success in life? Let's ask that question first. How does knowing what's going on inside of me contribute to the success I feel in my life? Anybody want to share your response? Go ahead, John.
Yeah, I guess noticing, and it has been inside of me, taking some of the becoming awake thoughts, I then make a judgment and a decision to do that in the future with multiple times.
Okay.
And if I don't feel good about it, I'm a judge that I'm going to stay away from it.
Okay.
And use my impeccable word and stay away from it.
Good. It makes perfect sense to me. Anybody else? Yes, Mary Beth.
When I notice what's going on inside of me, it contributes to my success in life because I'm choosing to act rather than react. When
Good.
I'm not paying attention to what's going on, I'm reacting.
Good, good. Glad to hear that. Perfect. Anybody else? Anybody else? Going once, going twice, quiet class, be out early? Okay, next question. How does noticing patterns of thought and behavior contribute to success in life? Have you noticed some patterns that you've had to change? Right? Have you also established new patterns? All right, who wants to share that? Anybody? Go ahead.
Okay. So patterns are negative thinking, self-beating up. So I have definitely noticed that, and I've noticed how pervasive it is. So I think that just stopping that a little bit has, I'm not in so much misery. I mean, I didn't realize how much I believed all of that, and to recognize it. So that's a pattern.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Hey, can you get William to turn the prayer mic up just a tad bit? All right, thank you. Cheryl.
What I noticed was that the patterns of thought, I was not being impeccable with my word for myself. Because you should speak of yourself and of others well. You have to treat yourself so using that impeccable word is using it with yourself as well.
Good.
So that's one of the things I noticed, and that when I was impeccable to myself, my thought patterns changed because I would not get on the monkey wheel. I would not just, sit there and beat myself up over, I should have done more, I could have done better. I realized I did. I did my best.
Good.
So,
Good. How about this? Let me add this in there. You can't be angry, fearful, and hateful and be grateful at the same time. So if you have a pattern of being angry or resentful or down on yourself, you can't do that. You can't follow that thought pattern and be grateful at the same time. So living the life of gratitude. Now, hey, maybe things didn't work out perfectly, what you wanted to happen in your life, right? But I can tell you there's a lot of great things happening in your experience to be grateful for. So another pattern that you have that you can work on reestablishing is when I find myself going into fear, when I find myself moving into places where there may be some old resentments or something, something negative happening, I can tell you that the new pattern to replace that would be one of gratitude, gratefulness, because they can't coexist side by side. You can't be mad and grateful at the same time. Try it. That make sense? Yep. Okay. Judy.
I was just this week, I experimented with something with a pattern of thought that runs in my family. And we're Scandinavians, you know, and we have a superstition kind of in my family that if your life is going well in all areas, it's going to all go to hell if you talk about it.
Oh.
So you really have to cover it all up with talk of what's not going well and how you're kind of struggling. And if you don't do that, you're pretty likely to get voted off the island.
Right. Something's going to happen.
Yeah. So.
It's almost like keep your good to yourself.
Right. It's a secret.
Because if other people find out that you're good, what will they think of you?
Well, they'll think you're a show-off.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes. Yes. So I had.
Did I ever tell you about the Cadillac? Remind me to tell you about the Cadillac. Go ahead.
Yeah. So anyway, I call it bonding by bitching, and that's
Good.
You know, kind of.
No, that's good. That's good. That's a good one. I like
yeah,
that.
kind of my family shtick. Anyway, so I talked to my sister this week and my one of my nieces, and she said, "How are things going with you?" And I'm thinking integrity of word, and I said, "Great. I'm really happy. John and I are getting along beautifully. I'm feeling healthy, blah, blah, blah." And an interesting thing happened.
What the hell's wrong with you?
That's what I expected. And she said, "Oh, Judy, I'm happier too."
Good. See that?
And
it can
same
spread.
thing-
Imagine at a family reunion how that could spread.
I know. That same thing happened with my niece.
Good.
Very nice.
That's great. So let me tell you a quick story about not sharing your good. My grandmother always had this idea that, you know, my mom and dad wanted to buy a Cadillac. Now, my parents were very middle class in Michigan, right? But a Cadillac meant you had arrived. I mean, if you had a Cadillac, you were there, right? Right? You know? All right. So my grandmother, for all of her life, said, "You cannot have a Cadillac. What would people think? That would be you'd be showing off, right? You don't want to be a show off. You know, people will just think you're just, too high and mighty." So my parents never did buy a Cadillac until my grandmother died. And when she died, I swear to God, 3 weeks later, they were driving a Cadillac. But it was the family history that said, you can't do that because you'd be a show off, that kept them from feeling good about what they had accomplished in their life. My dad was a superintendent of schools. My mother was a school teacher. They worked really hard, but God forbid, they buy the Cadillac because that is a symbol of being a show-off. And you know what I say? Honey, buy a Citation 5 if that's what's necessary and fly the jet around my house to show me how great you're doing. I want to know, and then give me a ride in it. I want to know that that's what you can do. There shouldn't be any reason why you can't not show off, but just live in your truth. Just live, show up and just be who you are in your truth. All right, anybody else? Patterns of thought. Any patterns of thought that you've changed?
Well, I have had someone come back in my life, an old relationship, and it started out wonderful. And then the old kind of fear started coming back, that there was a lack of communication or misunderstanding about something. Or, this kind of happened right away, and I noticed that I was getting defensive in my thought. I was saying, why did I even get involved in the same old crap all over again and all that? And I realized I was sort of condemning it before it got started. And I was like, no, I'm just going to wait and see how this all plays out. I'm not going to get in the way of it. So, yeah, I caught myself.
Good, good. Yes, last one, then we'll go to the next question.
I just wanted to add in my daily gratitude, I now look at me and am grateful for one thing about myself every day.
Good.
Instead of just looking outwardly, I'm now thanking God for everything outwardly, but making sure that I'm thanking myself. And one other quick thing. I too, like Joe, am from Michigan, and when I lived in Hamtramck, you were not the entire block. If you got a new car, you had to hide it in the alley in your garage. And nobody knew who got a new car because, yeah, you couldn't show it off.
Yeah. God forbid. No, it wasn't jealousy though. It was actually an idea that you just you couldn't share or demonstrate in any way that you were happy. You know, maybe it's a Nordic thing about happens in Michigan, but it was just sort of that way. All right. How does noticing the style of engagement in the world contribute to your success right now? Okay, let me ask this question. I'll phrase it this way. When you started this class, were you in neutral, reverse, park, or drive? Where were you? Park, reverse. And was anybody actually in drive? I mean, going the right way. I'll just put it going the right way, going the way you wanted to go. Yeah? You were in drive? All right, how do you feel now? Do you feel different that you've moved it up a gear, that you're going a little bit more in the right direction? That if you were in park, you've put it in drive. If you were in neutral, you put it in drive. If you were in reverse, you at least put it in neutral so you're not stepping back, right? Maybe you haven't engaged and gone forward yet, but you're in the process of moving forward. Do you feel like in the past weeks something's beginning to shift? You may not be able to identify all of it, but there's something a little bit different. Anybody agree with that? Yeah? All right? Definitely stepped on the gas. Good. Hopefully you were in drive and not reverse. You know, unless you're really good at driving in reverse. I don't know about that. I have a problem with that, but I have a problem backing into things. So, all right, so anybody want to share that? In the engagement, are you started to engage in different conversations with people? Are you starting to talk with your loved ones differently? I mean, what's different about the rules of engagement that you have now? Listening, speaking, so on and so on.
Well, when I first came here to this community center, my life was stagnant to a certain extent. Excuse me. And then we took the first class. And I felt like I went from 5 to maybe 10 miles an hour. Mm-hmm. And now I've gone from 10 to 15 miles an hour because my whole pattern of life has changed to the fact that I now have choices. I can make choices with myself or others. Of things I want to do or don't want to do. I'm not taking things for granted anymore. And it just, I'm stepping up. That's basically what's happening.
What makes me feel good is because that means from the start of this, so we're 15 weeks in. So in 15 weeks in, your life got 300% better. Because from 5 to 15 is 3, right? 300, so 5, double, triple, right? So if it moved to that degree, that's huge. That's huge for that for that feeling that things are changing. Imagine if you kept going. Where would you be? You'd be walking ecstasy in about a year from now. You'd be like going, oh my God, I don't even know what's going on. Mary Beth.
I just realized, I was just thinking this. The other day, something happened, and I shared about it last week, but then I had to confront somebody the next day, and like immediately, like all of the negative, you know, I'm a piece of crap, like da-da-da-da. And I just sat with that for a second, and then it was like, you know what? That's not the truth. You know, and I was doing that whole trust the universe, the good is, and I went to this person. I was still like me. I'm very like kind of whatever, but I just stood in my truth. You know, I didn't, because I wasn't telling myself all them lies about myself. I didn't accept it from other people right away either. I didn't believe it right away. And I stood and I spoke my truth, and I was like, you know, this is the way that it is. And they saw that, and it was just like totally different than what it would normally be. I would be normally reacting, crying, and all of that stuff. And I was still real strong and, you know, spoke my truth pretty, you know, I'll never be quiet, I don't think, but yeah, it was good, so.
And it took the drama out.
It took the drama out. It was like, I can't even say how empowering it was. And it was like,
This is
and
great.
it was just the truth.
Good. This is perfect. I love it. Good. We can all go home. Call it a night, right? Call it a night.
No.
when I was in reverse, I was thinking about starting Beyond Limits. And there was a couple of times in that class that I thought I was in here almost in tears, didn't think how I could go on, and things were. So my life has changed exponentially. It's just unbelievable. So that's why I had to go ahead and carry on with this class. And
Good.
I am very grateful. I am extremely grateful. So.
Well, I think this is an opportunity to take a look at what happens when you are stagnant, and what happens when you take action. You know, we teach a lot on Sundays. We teach a lot of things on Sundays. Now, whether or not you engage in them or not, that's a whole different story. But what do I always talk about? I'm like, don't just think about this stuff, do this stuff. Take the step, take the first action. You know, you guys are in class right now, and some of you have been here for 15 weeks. So you see, and some even longer because you took the dance class before that, the 4-week dance class. So, I mean, the joining in the dance. So all that together collectively is a major shift. Now, you would have been the same age on April 16th today, whether you took these classes or not, right? Whether you engaged or not, you'd still be at the same age. You'd still have gone through it. You know, the sun would have gone up and gone down every single day. What's different, I hope, is that somehow, now maybe some of you aren't experiencing to the degree other people are, but somehow the needle's moving just a little bit. Just a little bit. That's all I want. All I'm asking for is the needle to move just a bit. So let's talk about what it means to be at choice. Turn to page 41 of your workbook, please. Based on all the information you have gathered and all the information you are aware of, including your own internal experiences, you get to choose what your optimal response will be. When choosing an optimal response, you must ask yourself, am I acting on as much information as I can have? Is this choice in the long-term best interest of myself and those involved? After you've made the choice, act. When faced with a dilemma, action is eventually called for. Human nature sometimes will be like this. If something requires a decision and you feel like it's really awkward or you're feeling really pressured, sometimes human behavior is to recoil and just hope that it passes, right? Has anyone ever delayed a decision only to have it come back and haunt you until you make the decision? Anybody? Yeah, it happens all the time. You can't delay the expansion of life. You can try, but it's going to show up again, and it's going to show up again, and it's going to keep showing up until one day it shows up so strongly that you're going to be forced to make a decision, forced to make a choice, forced to take action. Now, in my mind, when we talk about what does it mean to be at choice, I want to think that I'm choosing, and write this down, choosing optimal long-term responses. When it comes to that, it's about choosing optimal long-term responses. When we are at choice, sometimes human nature is just make a decision that will just get me through this particular situation. And when we do that, again, the situation surfaces again later on because we haven't really resolved fully what needs to be resolved. So when you're at choice and you're making decisions about a relationship, about your health, about your finances, start thinking that maybe one approach could be, I'm going to make a choice based on a long-term great response. Not just to get through this situation, but something that extends long into my future, because I will know that, because once you understand this, and a lot of you understand how the universe is working for you, once you make a decision like that and you envision it, the universe conspires to create it. It inspires to create it. Now it just happens. You really don't have to do much except show up for life. Once you've made decisions, have you ever noticed that? Once you've made a decision, I remember when I broke up with with a partner, this is like 30 some odd years ago, I broke up with my partner. Once I made the decision, I hemmed and I hawed and I went through this whole, tearing of my emotions back and forth, but I was relatively young. But when I finally made the decision, when I finally decided to do something, I'm like, okay, let's go to U-Haul. Let's go get a box. That's the first step. The first step is a box. Right, Joe? The first step after you make this decision is to get a box. And if you go get a bunch of boxes and some tape, then you really have shown the world that you are moving on this. And so I went and got the boxes. And one by one, those boxes filled up. And next thing you know, my life is in a bunch of boxes. And the decision was made. Now, once the decision was made, it's like, okay, this is where we're going to go. This is what I'm going to do. This is what's going to happen. And it started to happen. Until then, it was just fighting with myself to actually make the decision. Now, in the process of fighting myself, I was trying to figure out the details before I had made the decision. Don't worry about the details. God is in the details. You just make the decision. If you have real faith, you'll know what needs to be done at the moment it needs to be done. Don't let the details spin around in your head that keep you from making the decision, because you're not going to know all the variables anyway. The universe is just going to unfold in front of you. Take what? The first step. Just take the first step and trust that steps 2 through 500 are going to be made known when they need to be made known. Does that make sense? So we have this power of choice. And start looking at what I would call the choosing optimal long-term responses. All right? What does it mean to be committed to spiritual growth? Let's look at page 43. Wait a minute. Hold on. I think I'm ahead. 42. No, hold on. 42. Stop at 42 first. Listen to this. H.W. Murray wrote this. Until one is committed, there is hesitancy, the chance to draw back, always ineffectiveness. Concerning all acts of initiative and creation, there is one elementary truth, the ignorance of which kills countless ideas and splendid plans, that the moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves too. All sorts of things occur to help one that would have never otherwise occurred. A whole stream of events issues from the decision, raising in one's favor all manner of unforeseen incidents and meetings and material assistance which no man could have ever dreamt would have come his way. I have learned a deep respect for one of Goss' couplets. Whatever you can do or dream you can, begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. So, the question is, what have you become aware of? What have you become aware of now? What needs to be done for you? So I just want you to think about that for just a second while we go into the next exercise. Okay? So let's go into the next one. Go to page 44, please. On page 44, on the left-hand column, I want you, does everybody have their workbooks? On the left-hand column, I want you to write down in the left-hand column a short list of individuals, personal heroes, or persons you admire. They could be living or dead, historical or fiction. Write down a list of people in those little boxes right there whom you admire, who you want to emulate, who you look at as being heroes or someone that you look up to. So write their names down, please. Okay, the second step, let me just jump in here. You'll have time to finish this. The second step is to look at that person's name, and then in the boxes next to it, I want you to define the qualities or attributes that you admire about them. In other words, make the qualities as simple as clear as possible, preferably one-word qualities such as love, power, commitment, kindness. If the quality you admire is she takes care of her family, come up with a word that describes that. Whatever it is, I want you to describe the qualities that this person has that you think they have, which is why you admire them, why you look up to them. Okay, so fill those in. It's 7:12 now. We're going to have you fill these in, and we're going to resume at 7:35. So this gives you 15 minutes or 20 minutes to finish this project, go and grab a bite to eat, and be back in your seats at 7:35 to begin. Does that make sense? So you want 7 people? I want as many as you can. As many, at least 3 or 4 people on the list, and then give the qualities. As many people as you can. 7's great. If you can do 5 or 7, that would be amazing. Because I think that there's a story that's going to be told here when you go through this process. So but at least write down the people, put down their qualities, okay? All right. And now for my live streamers, I will see all of you, talk to all of you in about 15 to 20 minutes, all right? All right. Come on, everybody. This is the best part of this class. Don't miss this. This next thing is so important to your whole life. Your life hinges on the next 7 minutes of this course. Aren't you glad you're here for that? Not yet. No, I'm still working on them. That was just the ones I did while you guys are working. All right, everybody in? Is anybody back out there? I want everybody back in. This is too good. This is too good. Where's Mary Beth? Thanks. Come on in. All right, I think is that it? Is anybody else out there? Seth, come on. Seth, drop your salad. Drop your salad, Seth. All right. Are you ready? Are you ready for this? This is really important. For the majority of you, not everybody, but for the majority of you, I want you to write, actually not yet, look at all the qualities that you just wrote down. All the qualities. I want you to come up with your top 3 and write them down underneath the chart. Just the qualities or attributes, whatever it is that you admire. Not the person, but just the qualities or attributes. If you found one, if there's a pattern that you found, I want you to write that down. It's like, let's say a word, kindness comes up 4 or 5 times. I want you to put down the word kindness. Whatever jumps off the page, it be as the most predominant things that you wrote down, the most important, I want you to put them in the chart underneath. Oh, did I take a pen? Here. There you go. Somebody left a purple notebook up front. Is that someone? Okay, did you write them all down? Anybody need more time? 3 or 4. Whatever those important ones jump off. Just see what jumps off. All right, you ready? Maureen, you good? Everybody good? All right. Those things you just wrote down, that's the reason you took this class. For the majority of you, the things you just wrote down are the reasons why you're here. Predominantly. Now, there may be an exception in the room, but my guess is what you just wrote down, it's the reason why you're here in this course right now. For you to become more of those things. Make sense? Close? Really close? We're going to find out how close it is. I want you to just read your 3 words and pass the microphone to the person next to you. All right? Go ahead.
I had 4. Smart, vision, generous, kind.
Perfect. John?
Love, caring, acceptance, and intelligence.
Kind of sounds like your conversation you had before. William, grab the microphone.
Oh, I have commitment, love, honesty, and kindness.
There you go. Jennifer, what do you got?
Positive, confident, faith-filled, and clear.
Anybody? Are we good? All right, keep going. Thank you for doing that. My foot is not working anymore. Good.
Love, compassion, action.
Kindness, empathetic, self-caring, and strong.
All right, Seth, what do you got?
Revolutionary, visionary, and pioneer.
Spirituality, truth, impeccable, and courage.
Love, learning, moral fiber.
Perception, compassion, commitment.
Loving, happy, strong.
Kindness, spiritual, and understanding.
Unconditional love, generosity, and commitment.
Grace, loyalty, creativity.
Loving, genius, and loyal.
Kind, intelligent, patient.
You're like, oh, that hurt.
Humility, love, wisdom.
Commitment to our planet, world peace, and helping others.
There you go. Did it make sense? Does that make sense to you? So when you boil it down, these people that you admire and that you just wrote down after 5 weeks in this course, because you've been doing a lot of self-examination, and I'm sure in the process, different people may have popped up in your head a month ago or 2 months ago, but the people who came to the forefront and that had qualities, something tells me that maybe not all of you, but maybe most of you wrote down something that you really would like to have more of yourself. So you know how when we say, I'm taking a course because I'm trying to, I don't know why I'm doing it, but I'm doing it because I just feel like it's a thing to do. You know, I feel like I'm in a place in my life where I need to find out more about myself. What you just wrote down was where your prayer work lies. To have more of this in your life. Now, you may have some already, but the universe is calling you to experience even more of that quality. Remember how we talked about having our good become great yesterday, right? At the center, we talked about that during the church, during service. So it's not about just having it, it's about making it better. It's about being grateful for it and growing it. So maybe some of the attributes are missing in you, maybe they're already there. But I can tell you that whatever's written down, there's something within your own spirit and soul that is calling that forward to experience something deeper on that level of connection. Does that make sense? So how do we do that? How do we bring that about? Because that for some of us, that requires that we change a little bit. We've been talking about the 4 agreements, and we've been talking about how we shift and how we perceive things, and how we label things, and how we assume things, and how we're impeccable with our word. We're talking about all of those things. But how do you really boil it down to what's going to create the change? So on page, I think it is 45 of your notebook, I want to take you on a little journey here. What's called embracing the stages of change. And sometimes in our humanity, we accept certain things and we reject certain things. Some of them sometimes people are good at endings, sometimes they're not. Sometimes when we're in the middle of something, we can't see that we're in the middle of it. We just kind of feel frustrated. Some of us are really resistant to beginning changes. So I'm going to go through a chart that will kind of give you a little framework so you'll see yourself in some of these different phases of change that maybe you're experiencing in different phases of your life. They may not be in every phase. In other words, one box will not fit all, right? But maybe, just maybe, in different parts of your life, it's calling you to examine something within that box that's going to move you into some sort of an action. Because at the end of the day, we want to be able to take action. This chart gives you, basically, it outlines some of the symptoms we may have, right? Some of the actions we are taking or not taking, and then it gives you the diagnosis. It gives you the prescription. Try doing this if you want to remedy that. Does that make sense? So let's walk through that chart together. So people who are challenged with endings. Anybody ever have a trouble ending relationship, saying goodbye? I have. I've had a ton of that, right? Because I experience things that are kind of like this chart. Look. So people who have problem with endings, they have difficulty with closures. Have you ever run a computer system where you've got too many apps open? Too many systems opening? What happens? It slows it down, doesn't it? Many times in life we have a lot of chapters that aren't closed. And we have a lot of unclosed chapters, things that are open, It slows us down. We have too many plates in the air. And it's okay to close things up. You have to know that part of the human process is to have endings and beginnings, understanding that every ending is a beginning. Does that make sense? Every ending is just another beginning. But we're afraid to have endings. So people who are afraid of endings, they have difficulty closures. They have difficulty saying goodbyes. They have a hard time saying goodbye because they feel like there's something final. Because if they say goodbye, whatever that means, it hurts them. Some of the things that they do when they have this behavior where you don't want to close things, they have what we call serial relationships or jobs. In other words, you keep marrying the same person over and over and over again. Not literally the same person, but you're in relationship with the same people. You have friendships where you find yourself in a situation where you're repeating friendships and the trials and tribulations of them over and over again. They have serial jobs. They go from one job to the next, and the problem is always with the job and never with them. Sound familiar? All right. They have a lack of closure, and there's a feeling of uneasiness. If you have a feeling of this uneasy feeling, you may be looking at an ending that you don't want to look at, that the universe is asking you to look at. That uneasy feeling may very be the catalyst to move you into closing down whatever that is that needs to be closed down. It could be a financial situation, it could be addictions, it could be relationships, it could be jobs, it could be anything in your life. It's not just one thing, okay? So how do you remedy that? Considerations. These are the things you want to take a look at. Okay, saying goodbye. Actually saying, okay, this has taken its course. We've ridden this out to a certain point, and there's no sense in going forward. I love you, and do it gently. But say goodbye. Another one is completing things with integrity. Allowing yourself to, you don't have to go into hate mode in order to get out of something. You don't have to go into hostility, anger, and resentment to get out of something. You don't have to go into a feeling of negativity in order to get out of it. Have some integrity and know that if you're looking for an exit on something, whatever that is, have some integrity, be impeccable with your word, and stay the course, but complete it and do it gently. Two other things you can do, prayer and, forgiveness rates right up there. Exercising your forgiveness and using this prayer to bring about the clarity of closure. Does that make sense? All right? The second one is this. Sometimes we're in a neutral zone. And when you're in a neutral zone, sometimes you just feel like you're lost. You don't know that you don't really know, you can't identify it, but you just feel kind of lost, almost disoriented, and you feel like I don't have a direction. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with the rest of my life. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm lost. Many times we're in the neutral zone. In other words, if we're in neutral, we need to kick it into drive. So here are some of the things that happens when things are neutral. When we don't have a direction, when we don't have that kind of clarity, many times we have false starts, all right? Maybe I'll get my real estate license this week, and the next week you're going to go get your cosmetology license, and the next week you're going to go do this, and then the following week you're going to be Brian Boitano, and you're going to go skating, and the next week you're going to become a gymnast, and next week next week you want to become Diana Ross. All these things you're kind of like spinning around, but you don't have a direction around them. All right? So if you have that false start thing going on, it increases your anxiety. You feel anxious. If you're feeling anxious, it's because there isn't a direction. Imagine sitting in the middle of the intersection when the light turns yellow and you still don't move. What happens? You start going, okay? In our life, we do that all the time. We get into the middle of the intersection, make a choice, and we're like, the light's turning red. The light could be red already, and you're still going, that anxiety feeling, right? That anxious feeling? That's what happens if you're stuck in neutral. The last thing is this, repeated patterns. You find yourself doing the same thing over and over and over and over again, and you ask yourself, is this all there is? Is this it? Is this my life? Is this what I'm going to do? Get up, do this, do this, do this, do this, over and over and over again. Many times, look in the mirror and go, is this me? If it is, how do you change that? First of all, you commit to standing still, because usually you're spinning. Your head's going, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to do this, I want to do that. Oh, what happens if I do this? And what happens if I do that? You talk very fast in your head, right? And you're kind of spinning. Commit to being still. In the stillness of things, that really helps out. Meditating is really important. Visioning is really important. If you're in neutral, create a vision board for yourself. What is it that you want to experience? How do you image your pic? If I said there's a picture of you in your life and this is what you want it to be, what does the picture look like? And then automate the picture, then make it move and see what it feels like to live in that. What are you doing? Who are you talking to? What are you wearing? Where are you eating? What's going on? What's happening around you in that experience? So if you're stuck in neutral, these are things you can do to kick yourself into drive, all right? So let's talk about beginnings. There's a lot of people that have a fear of beginning something. They have the fear of the unknown. What happens if I do this? Who will I become? I'll lose my security, my financial net, my safety net. I'm going to become really vulnerable. What happens if I want to begin a new relationship? That means I have to open my heart and sometimes your checkbook to other people. That was a joke. People, you're supposed to wake up. Come on. Too many carbs, all right? People who have fear beginnings have a lot of self-doubt. They have a lot of self-doubt. It's like, really? I don't think that's going to work for me. I don't think I'm worthy of that. I don't see myself doing that. I'm not that type. I'm not that, okay. No, I'm happy in my mediocrity. I'm happy in my, I don't need to push it. I'm good. I'm not great, but I'm good. They eke out a simple existence when they could be having a fabulous life experience. Finally, a lot of times people fear beginning because they feel like they have to be perfect. I have to know every nuance of everything that could possibly happen before I take the first step. Anybody? And I have to do it perfectly. What happens if I'm flawed? What happens if someone sees my flaws? Who will I be if my kids see me make a mistake? Who will I be if my loved ones or family or friends think I've screwed up? What will happen? So they won't even start a beginning because they're afraid they have to do it perfectly, right? There's no requirement to that. So how do we get past that? First of all, you have to look at what the qualities are. What are the cautions if you skip that? If you don't begin, you're going to stay stuck. Nothing's going to move. Nothing's going to shift. If you don't take some action, be happy where you're at, but most of all, stop complaining to everybody about where you're at. Because you know that you know, and when you know that you know and you don't do anything about it, you've now become a volunteer, not a victim to your stagnation. Make sense? Don't call for a pity party because you gave up your right as soon as you had that awareness that I'm stuck. I'm stuck, even though I know what to do, I'm not going to do it. That removes you from victim status. You're now a volunteer. Okay? So, loss of self-esteem. Some people don't begin because they're like, I just don't think I have it in me. Right? That's what happens if you don't do it. If you don't take a beginning, you're going to think you will start to contract. Tell me that how to explain to someone that the universe doesn't expand by contracting. The universe can't express and expand by means of you if you get smaller or if you put your covers over your head. That's not going to expand anything. That's just you're going to retract yourself and contract yourself into just being miserable at home with the shades drawn and the sheets over your head. Another thing that happens, if we're afraid of beginning, sometimes we gather evidence. Why? Well, I have tried this before and it didn't work 10 years ago. Right? Well, my sister tried it, it didn't work either. Well, my best friends, they tried this too, and they, no, I'm not. You gather evidence to support your stagnation. You gather evidence to support staying stuck. Anybody? Sound familiar? All right? So how do we remedy that? You commit to the first step. Commit to taking the first step. You don't have to know all of them. Again, you just have to commit to taking the first one. And then you begin by what we call gentle scheduling. This is a big one. I come from a culture and a time when instant gratification was not fast enough. I remember as a teenager when the microwave came out. It was as big as that stage, but it was a microwave. Remember them? They were like this big. They were monsters, right? And I remember thinking, wow, this is amazing. We don't have to go through all this time to do it. It's going to be quick. Everything's going to be quick, right? And now we've gotten to the point now, if you turn on your cell phone and you hit a button and it doesn't come up, you're like, oh my God, what the hell? What's wrong? What's wrong? My connection, right? And then if you have to reboot, you're like, oh, it's going to be another minute and 45 seconds. Look what we become. Gentle scheduling means don't put that on yourself anymore. Understand that, you know what, not everything has to happen overnight. I'm the worst at this. Ask the band. I'll come in on Sunday at 8:30 and go, you know what, I want to try something. And they're like, what? Huh? We're done rehearsing. I'm like, nah, you know what, let's just wing it. We'll make it happen. Come on, we can do this. They're like, you're crazy. I'm like, no, because I want it now. I don't want to wait a week. I don't want to wait till second service. Let's do it now. And they look at me, they're like, this is going to be a train wreck. And sometimes it was, like yesterday's song during Red Meditation was a train wreck. But, you know, hey, it's been my fault because I wanted it now. You know, I was raised in that Bewitched and Uncle Arthur thing where I need it now, make it happen. Well, gentle scheduling allows for yourself to say, you know what, I'm okay. I'll take my time. I'll get there. It'll happen. It doesn't have to happen overnight, right? But I know I'm going to get there. If you knew that you'd get there anyway, and you didn't have to stress out on the journey, because if you took your time, it would be a lot easier. Wouldn't it be easier? Would you be so apt to push so hard? Right? Another one, getting support, hanging around people that support you, which I'm going to throw this up. I'm going to throw this out there. Not everybody needs to know all of your dreams and ideas, because there's a lot of people who, let's just say, aren't as evolved as you are in this spiritual unfoldment process. And they're going to go, that's never going to work. You're crazy. Are you kidding? Who's telling you this stuff? Right? You know who I'm talking about, right? You could probably name 4 or 5 people that would fit in that category right now. And so you don't always have to share with people that, may give you an alternate opinion. I would say, you're pretty safe to share your dreams in a room full of people who are learning how to manifest their dreams. But outside of that, you got to make sure you're sharing it with people who are not going to try to poke holes in it, unless that's what you really want. But if you're asking people to poke holes in it, remember, if you believe what they're telling you, get ready for the holes. I kind of think the universe always unfolds as it should, and I kind of trust that now. In fact, I know I do. So, there may be things that I'm not expecting, but I'm also know, what? It's unfolding for a greater good. Just keep moving, Joe. Just keep moving. So make sure you get the right kind of support. A practitioner support, or a minister support, or support of the classroom, a prayer partner. When you do your little group things, that's what that's about. That's about supporting one another in the journey. That's what this is about. Finally, creative outlets. Making sure that what you're doing is creative, not destructive. Making sure that when you take a beginning, it's not, I'm going to do this to get back at somebody. I'm setting off because, you know what? They always said I couldn't do this, and I'm going to do it for that reason. No. Make sure what you're doing is a creative outlet. It's being creative. It's adding to your world and the world of others, not trying to prove something to somebody else, not trying to, one-up anybody else. No. Have it come from a real, sincere, in other words, without wax, have it come from a real, sincere part of you. Does that make sense? So when you begin to do this, and so now you can actually look, if you look at the middle phases, if you're having serial relationships, or you're feeling uneasy, or you've had false starts, you can actually look at where you are, take the 5 most important elements in your spiritual journey, all right? When it comes to relationships, where are you? Look and see if you're in one of those squares. If it comes to your health, where are you? One of those squares. When it comes to your creativity or what you do when you get up in the morning, where are you in one of those middle squares, right? When it comes to your spiritual journey, where are you? Look at the squares. When it comes to your financial security, where are you? Look at one of the squares. If you look in the middle square and you look to the right, it's going to tell you exactly how to remedy this. Does that make sense? This is a really good chart. You have a lot, in this workbook that you have, there's a lot of really good stuff in here. I hope it doesn't find its way to the bottom of a drawer when you're done with class. Because this stuff is a really good little operations manual for mental exercises. Because what you're learning here is mental muscle. You know, it's like any other muscle that you would work out, you have to continue to work it. And it's a muscle. You build up this kind of stuff. In fact, what happens in a class like this is it draws your attention every day to what you're doing because you have homework to do, you've got affirmations to do, you've got a meditation that you're supposed to do. So all of those stuff, that's all part and parcel. But what happens when class ends? What's going to happen? You know, keep your manuals close by. Keep these charts close by. You know, it's really comical, and I tell people this all the time. People come in and they forget that they've had the training. And they start from the very beginning. You don't have to start at the beginning. You have in your hands all kinds of diagnostic things. Today most of you learned why you're even here, what you want to experience more of. And then at the next page, I'm telling you, now, if you want to experience it, this is how you create the change in this framework to get to that place. So if you want to experience more of these attributes, look at where you're stuck, look at where you fit in the chart on those particular things, and then go to the far right column and it will tell you, this is what I need to do to move on into this experience, into that attribute, into what the thing you desire. Does that make sense? How are we? Are we good? Because guess what? We're going to cover the fourth agreement real quick. You got your notes? Grab your PowerPoint. Always do your best. Or, another way to put it, bring yourself fully to the moment. This is about being in the present moment. Always doing your best means showing up. It means living mindfully. Remember we talk about being mindful? People have brought up the word mindfulness. So always doing your best means you're there, you're fully present, you're mindful. And you try to be awake. You try to be awake. Sometimes it's hard because things might put you to sleep, but you're trying to be as awake as you can in the life that you're living. Doing your best also means this: adequate sleep, nutrition, and exercise. All of those things impact your ability to bringing your best forward. If you're skipping over sleep or exercise or nutrition, I can pretty much tell you that you're not bringing your best to the table. So there's one word that is required here: balance. Anybody? Balance, right? Observing the four agreements, your best will become even better. You guys have mentioned that since you started observing these four agreements, things have started to shift. So, these are things to be careful of. Trying too hard creates false engagement. When you're trying too hard, it's not sincere. It's not coming naturally. That's like trying to go upstream and force yourself into a situation. You're better off to just sit on the side, on the on the side of the stream, and just sit on the side until you're ready to move forward. Right? Next thing. Remember the story of the man in the Buddhist temple that went on page 77 in the book? What a great story. If you didn't catch it, go back and read it. Create a balance between living for self and living for others, between giving and receiving. This is a big one. Have you ever been around somebody who just takes, and you just give? And anybody just give till you go like this? There's just nothing left for me to give. Right? There's nothing left for me to give. Well, unless you're in a caregiver situation, and we'll talk about that in a minute, unless you're in a caregiver situation, if you've put yourself in a situation where all you're doing is giving, remember who put you in this situation. And what are you feeding? You're feeding more of it. So you have to learn that the giving and the receiving is all about balance, right? Loving yourself and loving others. It's about, who said taking care of themselves earlier, about taking self-care? Yeah, Cheryl was talking about self-care earlier. Making sure that you take care of yourself so you can take care of others. Now, if you're in a caregiving situation, which happens a lot, it happens a lot. I mean, my dad was at Alzheimer's for like 12 years, and it required the whole family to participate. But the one who took the toll on was my mother. My mother went through living hell for years because all she was doing was giving to someone who was not capable of giving back. So when you're in a situation like that, you have to recognize that, and you also have to make sure that some way, somehow, you put yourself in a situation to receive what you need to receive to fill your tank back up. Now, if that means just taking an hour off to go get a manicure, a pedicure, or a massage, or visiting a friend and having lunch, or maybe it might just mean taking a nap. Whatever it is, find someone else to help. I mean, we are in a spiritual community here. There are people to help. Many times, all you have to do is ask. The key is to ask and you shall receive. If you don't ask, people won't know that you need it. So many times you have to just ask for what you need with other people. But understand that if you're in a situation where you're giving, and it's a caretaking type situation, that there is going to be a time when you're out of balance. And that's understandable because we signed up for it. You know? When you're taking care of a loved one, if you married them, you signed up for it. If it's your parent, you kind of, you inherit that. It's just kind of what happens. But make sure that you have enough time that you take something for yourself. Some way to balance that out. Remember, that part is like what I want to call, you know how sailboats, little small sailboats, have like a centerboard in them? You know, sailboats have this centerboard that goes down in the middle. You know, you can have a lot of listing on the top, but if you've got a good solid centerboard, it's not going to tip over. You're going to be okay. So your centerboard is your own awareness, your own aliveness, and your own understanding of what needs to be done and has to be done in your world. That puts the centerboard in its place. And that way, when things are bobbing around and things are happening, you're not falling victim to that. You know, I can take that because I know I'm not going to tip over. All right? Where do you begin if you're in a situation like a job that you hate? What happens if you're in a situation that you hate? Well, a couple things are going to happen. My brother-in-law just experienced this. My brother-in-law hated his job. Talked about it all the time. I hate my job. Just hate it. And I'm like, well, get another one. Growl, 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 right? But you know what? Guess what happened? The job goes away. And now, but actually, he feels really free, which is really good. But at the time, it was like, whatever you hate, person or thing or job, it's not going to be around long. You may think it's around long, but eventually it will go. So what do you do about a situation that you hate? First of all, you can't be hateful and grateful. So you have to look at what did it bring, what's it bringing that's good, right? What good can it bring, does it bring? We have to make sure that you understand that. So be grateful for the things that it does bring. Many times, sometimes I'm just grateful for the lesson of what I don't want to do again. That may be the only thing that I can think of in that moment. That thank God I'm not going to repeat this, right? Thank God I'm not going to repeat this. But you can't be grateful and hateful. So you have to be grateful for the things you have and then go back to your change chart. Because it gives you the outline on what to do next so you can create the change. And then practice means do it again and again and again until you get better at it. Right? Oh, one before that. Do things as if every action means something special. So you know what? I've been trying that too. Let me tell you about every action being special. When I was reading over this lesson plan, I thought, you know what? I need to wake that part up again because I do so many mundane things that I don't think are special. Like grocery shopping, right? So I thought, when I went to go pick up my saltine crackers at the grocery store, I went, oh, these are going to be fabulous with my soup. And I put the box in. Now, I just didn't grab the saltines and go, saltines, okay, what's else on my list? No, I thought, nope, this is fabulous. It's going to be great with my soup. Then I went to the vegetable and the fruit area, right? Normally I know exactly what I want because I'm a creature of habit. So I'm like, I grab this, blah, blah, blah. I thought, you know what? I'm going to absorb the energy that exists in this space, because there's a lot of creativity and a lot of effort went into making all of this stuff appear in front of me. You know, if we're 80% water and we absorb energy, then I have to be willing to absorb the good energy that's around me in just simple little things like bananas and oranges, right? Somebody went to great effort and painstakingly planted these things and nurtured them and weeded them and gardened them and then harvested them and then transported them and then, built the truck that made the transporter happen. I mean, there's like 1,000 people that go into my green bean. There's 1,000 people who worked for my green bean that ends up on my plate. We don't know it, but you know what? There's a lot of energy that happens in places that are so mundane, like grocery stores, I mean, when I go into the dry cleaner now, I try to go in with a little zip in my step, because how many people go in excited to see the dry cleaner? Imagine when you're on the other side of that. You're handing your stuff over that's stained. You go, yeah, there's a stain here. Can you look at that? That zipper needs to be fixed. Yeah, and she's like, okay. But if you go in and you go, hey, good morning, how are you? God, thank you for cleaning my clothes, because boy, am I glad I didn't have to do that. I don't know how to dry clean at home. You don't want me to iron. It's not pretty. So I'm grateful for it. I know it sounds nuts, and you're thinking, I'll never be able to sustain that. But the alternative is to live in a boring place, because we all have stuff to do. Laundry has to, speaking of laundry, the other day, Trey and I had to fold sheets. We were just folding sheets. And I said to him, you know what? I hate folding fitted sheets. Anybody? So I pulled up a YouTube on how to fold a fitted sheet. And we sat there and we practiced folding fitted sheets. There's actually a method of folding a fitted sheet. And we practiced and practiced and practiced, but I have to tell you, didn't get it right, stuffed the damn thing in the cupboard at the end, but we at least had joy for a little bit going, well, okay, wait, okay. And if you put your other hand here, then you got to slide this up here, and then you got, okay, then you fold this here, and then it looks so stupid. But I'm like, okay, let's just try to do something out of the ordinary. Because the fitted sheet is a problem in society. It's a problem. Yes, that's what it was. Yeah, it was. It was all about, Martha Stewart's out there going, this is what you do? And so I tried. There's like 25 videos that we found. One of them was a 4-minute instruction. That's too long. I don't have a 4-minute attention span to go through a fitted sheet. But the one was like 1 minute, 30 seconds, but we watched it 5 times. So it was like 5 minutes and 80 seconds. Anyway, we covered the amount of time, but we really did. We learned how to do it. But, we practiced. But that's what I say. Practice means do it again and again and again until you get it better. So you don't have to do things perfectly all the time, but just if you added a little skip to your step, imagine what that would do. Just a little bit. Imagine if you applied some of these 4 agreements as much as you can. No one's telling you to be perfect, but what if you engaged enough that you were cognizant enough and awake enough that you were doing enough of that, more that than you've done before? My qualification is, did I do better today than I did yesterday? And sometimes the answer is no. And then I have to go, did I do better this week than I did last week? And I keep going back until I find a time frame in which I did better. And sometimes I go back a year. And I say, last year at this time, did you do better today than you did a year ago? Like today, perfect example. Between classes and between meetings, normally I would, sit in my office or just kind of hang out at the church. But I thought, nope, you know what? I'm going to drive back to my house and I'm going to meet with my trainer and I'm going to work out. So I'm going to do something productive in that time instead of laying on. I have a little lounger there that I sleep in when I need a nap in my office before work. So I'm instead of being in the lounger and just eating licorice and doing things I shouldn't do anyway, I'm thinking, okay, let's just do something about it. Make a difference. Did you do better this week than I did last week? Yes, because last week I didn't do that. So okay, keep trying to do something better. Not going to be perfect, but certainly going to make things better. Does that make sense? Yes. All right? So I want to cover the homework real quick. First of all, let's prepare our love offering. And then I want to cover the homework. Then we're going to break into small groups, okay? So if you would please prepare your love offering. And then I want you to look on page 46. On page 46, it says chapter 7, but it should say 6 and 7. You're going to read 2 chapters for next week, chapter 6 and chapter 7. On the bottom of page 46, or the middle, it says, after reading the new dream in chapter 7, take some time to describe below a new or different dream you would like to have for humanity. Use the space below. So when you read chapter 7, this will make a lot of sense. But read 6, but 7, you're going to do an exercise. There's no prayer to turn in, but your meditation exercise is a little different, and I kind of like this one. So on page 47, it says, take a moment for the next 7 days just before your scheduled practice of sitting to review the items on your display. It's about making a little display for yourself about things that are important. You can put pictures, a little knick-knack, put a candle there, whatever it is, and just you create your own little personal shrine. And so we want you to create a personal shrine, something that means something to you, and we want you to visit it once a day. And when you visit that, we want you to look at it, concentrate on it, and then if there's a candle there, whatever it is, light the candle, start the music, and just kind of stay with that and just literally keep your eye on it for 7 to 10 minutes and see what happens. Looking at each item, Edward spells it out really clearly on page 47, so the directions are there. All right? So on page 46 is your homework. It's really easy. You don't have a prayer to hand in. All you have to do is write what your new dream world would look like. But you're going to want to do it because it's part of an exercise next week, and then your meditation exercise for that. That make sense? All right, I'm going to pass the basket around. And then also, I think I have for you guys, did you grab this sheet? Make sure you grab this sheet. Did I show you this already? So if you want to grab a little worksheet or a little thing, I'm going to put it in the back. I'll put it in the back. So you can grab the new Universal Pasta Maker by One God. So here's the spiritual pasta maker. A guy did this for his project, and I just think it's really brilliant. I've been looking for this, and it was so funny. I mentioned it, and the next thing you know, one of my office people said, oh, this has been under my desk. I'm like, hello, I've been looking for this. Ask and ye shall receive, right? So there you go. All right, so I'll put this on the back. You can grab this. By the time class is over, I should have all of your prayers done, and so you can pick them up. And so right now, after I collect the basket, I want you to get in your small groups. And then we'll go through, actually, let me go through the group exercise for you first. It's just someone in the group come up, just one person, and grab this. The group exercise is very easy. We've been doing the same thing, which is everybody goes around at first and says, last week you were praying, whatever was on the back of your sheet that people were praying for. If you want to share something that happened, you share it. The next thing is, remember to identify the quality you wish to experience, then go around the circle, and then people will write down something new for you to experience that week. All right? Finally, on the last one, share your thought, and it should say on the fourth agreement, on the fourth agreement, which is doing your best. All right? So share what happens when you did your best. How could it become a spiritual practice? All the questions are right there. And don't worry about the last one. Go around the circle with simple prayers of individual acceptance. Don't worry about that, because by the time you get the sharing done, you're going to be over it. So come on up here, grab this, and then we'll break into small groups for about 30 minutes. All right? So one person in the group, grab a couple for everybody. All right? Okay, we'll probably put you with another small group. What are you looking for, Frank? Pasta maker. Oh, it's back there. On your way out, you'll grab it. I love it, the pasta maker. My teachers would be mortified if I actually taught my students to learn about a pasta maker. Oh, here. Sorry, Seth. Just call it out next time. I don't ever want you to go to a whole class without it. To my live streamers, we're done. See you next week. Thanks, Cheryl. done? You guys good? You guys good? Right? You guys done? All right, let's head back to our seats, everybody.